What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie298 coming at you live again through the power of the internet. And this is my rambling video, and these videos, if you're not aware of them, they're really self-indulgent and self-centered, and I focus on myself, and I focus on my health, and I focus on my mental health. If you're not into that type of content, a lot of people aren't. They complain about it an awful lot. If you're not, I highly recommend you don't watch this video because I'm definitely going to talk about exclusively that in this video, but thanks for clicking on it. And I'm going to talk about a whole lot of topics that trigger a lot of people. I'm going to talk about my weight loss. I'm going to talk about my mental health. I'm going to talk about my divorce. I'm going to talk about all kinds of stuff that makes people roll their eyes and get super frustrated and get super irritated because it's what I want to talk about today. And it's my channel, and I'm going to do what I want. Plenty of times in my life, I thought I hit rock bottom. I was homeless at one point, for example. Yet another time, I was hospitalized because of how unhealthy I was. I got all the way up to 600 pounds, well, 590. I was hospitalized due to my mental health and because of my suicidal tendencies. I have hit rock bottom so many times in my life that I said to myself, this has got to be the floor. This has to be the absolute bottom. And certainly in many ways, I'm doing better than I've ever done. Financially, obviously, I'm doing very, very well for myself. When it comes to a career, I have a career, which is something I didn't have for the first 35 years of my life. I just kind of slightly made money on the internet or did part-time jobs or things along that lines. Fortunately, I have this as a job. Physically, I'm healthier than I've ever been, and that includes the broken arm. But when it comes to mental health, I think the last year has been the lowest point I've ever been by a lot, by dramatically a lot. I've talked about it a bit here, sharing that with you guys a little bit on video. I've shared it a little bit more on Twitch streams. I've shared it quite a bit on Twitter. But unless you knew me in real life, unless you were my roommate or one of my best friends, you wouldn't know exactly how bad things have gotten. My depression is insane. It's difficult to get out of bed. It's difficult to function. But for me, depression has always been about numbness. It's always been about not being able to feel positive or good things. And I'm just going to be honest with you, even the best things in life that used to fill me with absolute incredible pleasure, traveling to VidCon and meeting fans or eating a delicious piece of food used to be one of my favorites, which is something I can't do anymore. Or playing video games or spending time with family or friends or even spending time with my dog. They do little to nothing when it comes to turn to joy. I basically, happiness, joy, those are feelings I just can't feel right now. And I don't know the last time I felt them. I've tried to push it. I've tried to express it. I've tried to force myself into it. I've tried to fake it till I make it. It just has not been working. On a happiness scale, I can get up to like a 1. and then the rest of the time, I'm pretty much numb or depressed or angry or sad or miserable. And that's what the last 10 months of my life have been like. Which I guess if I'm being entirely honest with you, that's kind of how I've been my entire life. I've always had to work very, very hard to get that 1 or 2 on a happiness scale. And I've had some really great breakthrough moments. The night I won my game award, I felt pretty jubilated. The day that I got married, I was very, very happy. The day I met my ex-wife for the first time, or a handful of successful relationships, a handful of successful dates. Sometimes when meeting you guys, you broke completely through the walls, and I could feel the joy you were feeling, and it made me feel amazing. A couple of vacations, stuff like that. But for the most part, I've just pretty much spent the entirety of my life dead inside. And that's why I've been so highly functioning over the last 10 months, because even though it's at its worst, I'm very, very versed at this. I'm very, very practiced at this. I know what it's like to just feel nothing but bad things and absolutely no good things. And I've endured that so much in my life that it really didn't seem like a big deal to endure it now. Especially if I was still able to give back to you guys, even if I was able to give you guys videos or streams or help earn a living, keep the lights on, and entertain you guys at the same time, then it's worth it to try to be happy, to try to do things, and to keep working and keep producing to make you guys as happy as I can. Unfortunately, when I go back and look at the content I produced in the last 10 months, I don't even remember producing some of that content. And it's certainly not the favorite stuff, best stuff I've created, the stuff I wanted to create. It's definitely not the most enjoyable stuff. There's some stuff in there that I'm really proud of, like the Francis sketch where his sister, moves out, stuff like that. But for the most part, it's not the content that I wanted to make. It's not the content that I'm proud of. It's just the content that I was able to make, given everything I was dealing with. And unfortunately, that scared off a lot of my old school viewers, a lot of my people who had my back this whole time. A lot of people grew bored, a lot of people got irritated, a lot of people got frustrated, and a lot of people are rightfully so frustrated about videos like this, because this is the type of content that I need to produce right now, this video here. This is the kind of content I want to produce right now, but there's only so much of it you can make. And unfortunately, it draws a very, very negative type of attention, which is pretty much the majority of what I want to talk about for the rest of this video. Right about the time I finally went live with my marital problems last July, there was a certain group of people who just locked onto that and latched onto it and did everything they could to get in my face about it. Not just like Twitter or the comment section, but like sending me emails, doxing me, sending me phone calls, stuff like that, that just were very, very involved in seeing that little chink in the armor, seeing that little bit of blood in the water and trying to capitalize on it. The reality of it is, it really at first didn't do much because I was so miserable because my marriage was failing. I was getting ready for this surgery, this life-altering surgery. Then I was recovering from the surgery. Then I was recovering from the divorce. I was so low on the pain scale anyway. Nothing they could do could really affect me. But as I've begun to improve in the last 3 to 4 months, it started to suck. It started to really, really suck, especially right about the time I did the H3 podcast and the entire internet was mad at me for a couple of weeks. That was really, really, really difficult. So at the Creator Summit last year, I talked to a lot of creators about this. And I also talked to other creators about it at E3 and other gaming industry people and other people who deal with this stuff every day at VidCon. It was the topic that I talked about with everyone. And without fail, and I don't want to talk about anybody's business here. I'm not here to dox anybody or share something they said to me privately. But without fail, this has been a hugely increasing problem in their lives as well. Even some of the most beloved creators on the internet have told me that this is some of the most frustrating stuff they deal with, that there's this large market of very, very critical, very, very angry, very, very mean people who are there to try to make them miserable for some reason. And the problem has just persistently gotten worse in the last year for everyone. I thought it was just me. I thought it was my paranoia. I thought I was just focusing on it more because of my divorce and because of my mental state. It just seems like that's the way the world is changing right now. The world is genuinely just getting worse in that regard. People are finding out that it's okay to be as rude as they want to be on the internet, and people are frustrated, people are irritated, they're angry, they're sad, they're lonely, they're disenfranchised, and they attack. That's just the world we've built, and that's what Friday's video was about more than anything else. It's just that's the world we've made, that's the bed we lie in. There's not much we can do about it anymore. And right about the time that my marriage started to fail, I started checking the internet every day about this stuff. Reddit and 4chan and 8chan and Vote and all these other places to see what they were saying to try to come up with a way to control the message, a way to fix the problem, a way to inform these people about their misinformation. And with the surgery and with the weight loss and with everything else, is there a way that I can interact with these people? Is there something I can do to please these people? Is there something I can do to get these people to back off? And no matter what I tried to do, it just made the situation worse. And then, because it was so in my head about it, I continued to make more and more stupid mistakes that fed into this. And as I talked to creators over the summer, this is a cycle we've all been through. This is a cycle we all do. This is something we've all tried to do. And we always come up with the same solution, and it's very simple. There's nothing you can do. You can't talk sense into crazy. You can't talk logic where there is no logic. You can't convince somebody who wants to be wrong about something. And there's especially nothing you can do when you've made a mistake, when you've said something that's wrong, when you've done something that's wrong. You just have to pay the piper. You just have to pay the price. So we all make mistakes. You just have to roll over and take it and then just try to endure. And that's true even when you've done nothing wrong. You still just have to roll over and take it. You still just have to endure, because addressing it, talking about it, making a video like this one, it's just going to make it worse for a while. And I know that. But this video is not for them. This is for my core audience, for the people who are bearing with me. I got something I want to say to you. I am fully aware of the situation I'm in right now. I am fully aware of the damage that I've done to my reputation, to my channel, to myself. I am fully aware of the stupid mistakes I've made. and I finally think I have a solution how to get out of this stuff. Now, there's not much I can do about the depression. There's not much I can do about the paranoia and the anxiety, but I can definitely stop reading that negative, awful stuff every day. I can definitely stop looking at the emails and stop answering the random phone calls and just ignore it. I can just ignore it, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm just going to be over it. I managed to get through the whole weekend without even thinking about it. And I'm hoping I'll get through the rest of the week and then the rest of the month and then the rest of the year. And hopefully that will put me into a better place mentally, even though I'm dealing with a lot of other stuff still. That is, I think, even compared to the divorce, compared to the broken arm, compared to everything else, that was still the hardest thing I was dealing with. That stuff is really, really hard. It is really awful. And I'm sorry for all these stupid mistakes and the damage I've done. And I'm really sorry for not producing my best quality content. And for those of you who are stuck around for it, I appreciate it. And for those of you who hit the vacation button for a little while, I hope that as this depression subsides, as I use my therapist to get out of it, as my arm heals, as I continue to lose more weight, and as I continue to get more mentally better and more mentally balanced, we can get back to some of the content that you guys were originally subscribed for. Now, at the end of the day, I'm still going to create the kind of content that I want to create. I'm going to still do the kinds of things that I want to do. And if nobody's watching, that's okay, as long as I'm being true to myself. And I guess I have to be entirely honest, as long as I'm making enough money to keep the lights on. But beyond that, I'm not that worried about it. I'm not that worried about view numbers. I'm not worried about subscriber numbers. I'm not worried about that stuff as much as I used to be anyway. As long as the rent is paid and as long as somebody's watching, I'm going to keep producing the type of content that I want to produce. I might even produce that stuff in a vacuum and never release it if no one wanted to see it. I just like making content. I just like talking to a camera. I just like doing cool stuff. The fact that it pays is a byproduct, and it's a wonderful byproduct, but it sure ain't why I do it. But I want to make it abundantly clear for those of you who criticize me, for those of you who have had something valid to say critically, or even for those of you who are just very, very angry and want to see me destroyed or want to see me blow my brains out or whatever it is you're trying to do, I have heard you. I've spent the last 6 months listening to you. I got it. I understand it. And now I'm done. I've apologized. There's not much more I can do. Now I'm going to focus on the people that love me instead. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon.